I watched The Last Breath today, so that means that you now have to hear about it. So what can be said about The Last Breath? Well, it's one of a handful of shark films with a 2024 release date. It's so far managed to gain itself middling reviews for the most part, and it seems to in fact be so mid and forgettable that nobody has even bothered to create a Wikipedia page for it. There's barely any info on IMDb either, and so the majority of this review is going to be written from memory, as I have no external resources to refer to. The film starts off in the British Virgin Islands in 1944, towards the end of World War II, where we see a German U-boat fire a torpedo at the USS Charlotte, sinking it. We meet two men who are serving aboard this now destroyed vessel, Jimmy and Scott, who are attempting to stay afloat amid all the fiery carnage. But their survival was not to be, sadly, as a shark soon appears and makes the pair of them its evening meal. We then fast forward into the modern day, where we meet a group of one-dimensional, uninteresting and utterly unlikable douchebags. We have the cliched, cocky rich boy Brett, who aspires to work on Wall Street, so you already know he's done for. You have the wacky and funny cliched stoner type, Logan, two young women who I couldn't even tell apart for most of the time, and they're all led by Justin Trudeau lookalike. What was his name? I can't actually remember. I want to say Noah, but don't quote me on that. There's also the elder Levi, played by the late Julian Sands in his final film role, who's out on the water with Noah to look for the sunken USS Charlotte, which they find. They then meet up with Wall Street jerk, stoner guy, and the two young women who are meeting them out in the Virgin Islands for a 3-day sun break. While they're all together, Noah lets slip that he and Levi found the USS Charlotte, and Wall Street guy then offers them money to take them all down there to see it, so that they can, wait for it, light up their Instagrams. As if these people couldn't get any more unlikable. Levi refuses Brett's money initially, though, for some reason. I guess they just wanted to use the grumpy old guy not interested cliche to show that he has principles or something in the laziest way possible. But eventually they accept the offer because Levi is $36,000 in debt for some reason and needs the money. Now, as much as I dislike Brett, the Wall Street scumbag, I honestly think that funny, wacky stoner guy Logan is the most irritating of all. His attempts at comic relief and his dialogue are pathetic. One example that comes to mind is when they meet a little local girl who tries to sell them trinkets or something, and then Logan, the super funny stoner guy, comes out with this absolute knee slapper.
You think she has any weed?
Logan, she's like 10.
Right?
Whoa, so funny. That crazy stoner guy, he sure does love his weed. Now, Levi needs to get out of debt, obviously, but I don't care. I simply do not care about this at all. This and his knitting to help with an injury thing is obviously there just to elicit sympathy from the audience, but it didn't manage to get one iota of sympathy out of me. They then finally get down to the USS Charlotte and look around for a bit. Wall Street Brett, being a spoiled D-bag, doesn't listen when Noah says they've gone far enough, and they keep on going. Why anybody listens to this idiot when nobody seemed to take him all that seriously at all at any other time is a mystery, but for some reason they decide to follow him. They then reach an air pocket within the sunken ship. They question whether the air is breathable, and of course, this is where Wall Street takes off his breathing gear and does the not at all predictable "oh no, I can't breathe" prank. As soon as somebody, I forget who, asked the question of whether it'd be possible to breathe in there, I could see this bit coming from a mile away. You know, for a bunch of certified divers, this group of people really are some of the most incompetent bunch of reckless jokers to ever put on an oxygen mask. Eventually, while making their way back because woman number 2 has been injured by their line having been pulled by something and cutting into her leg, my favourite character Logan, the hilarious stoner, gets attacked by a PS2 graphics bull shark. Woman number 1, who is a doctor, operates on his wound using medical equipment found in the drawers on board the sunken ship, which despite being submerged in seawater for 80 years, is still as clean and shiny looking as the day it was made, and also using a small vial of what seems to be morphine with a glued on paper label saying expires 1945 that is somehow intact and perfectly legible despite also having been sat in the ocean since World War II. Logan then dies, boo-hoo, and the group decide to use his body as a distraction for the sharks while they try to escape. They are then picked off one by a variety of different sharks who apparently shouldn't be there because there's never been a recorded shark in the area. Wow, I mean, this is human hubris on full display, as if so-called records of something as vast and dangerous as the ocean are some kind of cast iron guarantee of the area's safety. But that's what you get when you listen to experts, I guess. Eventually, Wall Street Brett makes it to the surface and tries to make it to the boat, where Levi has apparently been blissfully frying up omelettes the whole time, not noticing that their line has been cut, and is pursued by a shark. Levi yells to him repeatedly as he desperately tries to make his way to the boat, and then, in one of the film's most idiotic moments, he shouts to the frantically swimming Brett, "Behind you," at which point Brett, who already knows he's being chased, stops and turns around to look at it. It then bites off his leg, he keeps trying to swim back as a shark fin approaches from behind, and then he's finally eaten by a different shark. What a twist. Woman number 1 then gets eaten while they're floating around yammering for some reason instead of scrambling to the surface, and eventually we're left with just 2 of the original group, Noah and woman number 2. Or is it woman number 1? I honestly can't remember. Noah makes it to the top with the help of Levi, who has donned his diving gear again because apparently he hasn't done so for a long time. The woman impales a shark that's about to get her with a sharp metal pole because I'm sure she'd be strong enough to do that to a bull shark that's going at full speed, and she then finally makes it out of the sunken ship. Levi comes back down for her, and as she's about to be attacked again, he pulls a no and sacrifices himself to save her.
No!
She makes it to the boat and is then pulled up by Noah. They disappear, and it cuts really jarringly to the future where they have a kid and are living happily ever after. The camera pans out to reveal that they are sailing just outside of New York City for some reason, and some wishy-washy emotional music plays in a cynical attempt at tricking the audience into thinking that this is a really poignant ending. And then that's it. Roll credits. So what did I think of The Last Breath as a film? It was pretty bad all round. The acting left a lot to be desired. Each character was either completely unlikable or just a non-entity there to be eaten, and the only characters I actually felt anything for were the 2 USS Charlotte sailors we saw at the beginning of the film. The premise was decent if straightforward but poorly executed, and the one thing that should have made this film even slightly entertaining, the shark attacks, were some of the dullest and least exciting I've ever seen. The cinematography was fine, with lots of nice shots, but to be honest, this isn't really much of an accomplishment when you're filming under the ocean, as it always looks awe-inspiring anyway. You can point your camera in basically any direction and get a beautiful shot, and so in this regard, it's the sea itself that does all the heavy lifting. I would score The Last Breath a 3 out of 10. It's bland, it's boring, it's forgettable, it's content. Anyway, thanks for watching this review of The Last Breath. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more Animal Attack movie reviews. Thanks for watching Jaws World. Take care. Bye-bye.